South of the bustling heart of Mexico City lies a place that seems suspended in time, a labyrinth of water and earth where ancient history drifts on the morning mist. This is Xochimilco, a vestige of the Aztec civilization, a network of canals originally built on the Great Lake Texcoco. For centuries, these waterways have been the lifeblood of the region, navigated by colorful, flat-bottomed boats called trajineras. They glide past chinampas, man-made islands, once floating gardens, that have anchored themselves to the lakebed, creating a unique and fragile ecosystem. By day, Xochimilco is a place of vibrant life, filled with the sounds of music, laughter, and vendors selling flowers and food. It's a celebration of culture, a destination for families and tourists seeking a glimpse into a bygone era. But as the sun dips below the horizon, a different atmosphere descends upon the canals. The festive sounds fade, replaced by the lapping of water against the shore and the whisper of wind through the trees. The boatmen, who know these waters intimately, begin to steer their trajineras back towards the familiar, well-lit piers. They speak in hushed tones of certain areas to be avoided, remote corners of the labyrinth where the water runs colder and the silence feels heavier. There is one island in particular, a place so steeped in tragedy and unsettling lore that even the most seasoned locals refuse to approach it after sunset. They believe that to linger there in the darkness is to invite misfortune, to disturb something that should be left alone. This forsaken chinampa has a name that has become a legend, whispered with a mixture of fear and morbid curiosity. They call it Isla de las Muñecas, the Island of the Dolls. It is a sight that defies rational explanation. From nearly every tree, every fence post, and every dilapidated structure, they hang. Thousands upon thousands of dolls, in every imaginable state of decay. Their plastic faces are cracked and blistered by the sun. Their limbs are severed, their bodies covered in grime and cobwebs. Many are eyeless, their empty sockets staring out into the gloom as if watching every visitor who dares to step ashore. Some are half-burned, their features melted into grotesque parodies of a child's plaything. They are a silent, decaying army, nailed to trees and hanging by wire nooses, swaying gently in the breeze. They are not here for play. According to the legend, they are here as guardians, placed to appease a restless spirit. This is not a playground. It is a memorial born from tragedy, an obsession that consumed one man's life and created one of the world's most unsettling places. Our story, a modern folktale woven into the fabric of Mexico City, begins with a man named Don Julian Santana Barrera. He was not born to this island. He chose it. In the mid-20th century, driven by reasons he largely kept to himself, Don Julian turned his back on the burgeoning metropolis and the life he knew. He sought refuge in the quiet, labyrinthine waterways of Xochimilco, a place where the past refuses to be paved over. He became the sole caretaker, the hermit of a small floating garden known as a chinampa. These man-made islands are relics of an ancient agricultural system, a testament to Aztec ingenuity. Here, far from the city's relentless hum, Don Julian cultivated a solitary existence. His days were measured by the rising sun and the gentle lapping of water against the shore. He lived off the land, trading the vegetables he grew with other locals navigating the canals. It was a life of profound isolation, a deliberate retreat from the world. For years, this quiet rhythm defined his reality. The island was his sanctuary, the canals his silent companions. But the waters of Xochimilco hold memories, and they are not always peaceful. The tranquility of Don Julian's world was about to be irrevocably shattered. The story that is often told, the one that has seeped into local legend and travelers' warnings, begins on a day like any other. A day that started with mist and ended with a haunting. As he poled his way through the dark, reflective water near his chinampa, He saw something caught in the reeds. At first, it was just a shape, a pale form against the murky green. But as he drew closer, the horrifying truth clarified. It was the body of a young girl who had tragically drowned in the canal's embrace, and floating just a few feet away, as if a loyal but helpless guardian, was her small plastic doll. The authorities were called, and the girl's body was taken away. But for Don Julian, the event was not over. The silence of his island was now filled with a new, spectral presence. He claimed that in the nights that followed, he could hear her, the faint whispers, the sorrowful cries, the sound of footsteps where no living person walked. The spirit of the drowned girl, he believed, had remained tethered to the place of her death. He was no longer alone. Haunted and deeply disturbed, Don Julian felt a profound need to appease this restless soul. He retrieved the doll from the canal, the girl's last possession. In an act of reverence and protection, he hung it from the branch of a tree. He hoped it would serve as an offering, a token to comfort the spirit and ward off any further evil. He believed this simple gesture would bring peace to the girl and to his home. He was wrong. It was only the beginning. Don Julian buried the girl near the island and hung her doll on a tree to please her spirit. But at night, he heard whispers, footsteps on the wet ground, and the sound of a child giggling, though no one was there. What began with a single, solemn gesture soon spiraled into an all-consuming obsession. Don Julian, driven by a need he couldn't explain, started actively seeking out more dolls. His quest took him far beyond the banks of his own Chinampa. He would scour the canals for dolls caught in the reeds, their plastic limbs tangled with river weeds. He sifted through the garbage heaps of Mexico City, rescuing broken and forgotten figures from the trash. He even began trading the fruits and vegetables he grew on his small patch of land with local villagers and boatmen, bartering his harvest for their children's cast-off toys. Each new addition was a sacred duty. He wasn't merely decorating his island, he was populating it. The collection grew from dozens to hundreds, and eventually to thousands. The island, once a simple floating garden, was transforming into a grotesque and sprawling memorial. When asked why he surrounded himself with these decaying effigies, his answer was always the same, delivered with a quiet, unshakable conviction. He said it was to keep her company. In his mind, the spirit of the drowned girl was not a terrifying specter, but a lonely child, trapped between worlds. These dolls were to be her playmates, her silent companions in a purgatory of water and reeds. He treated them not as objects, but as his wards. He would arrange them in groups, as if they were having conversations. He would move them from tree to tree, giving them a new view of the canals. He would even, according to his nephew, give them names and sing them lullabies as dusk settled over the water. To the few visitors and boatmen who passed by, this behavior was deeply unsettling. They saw a man who had clearly lost his grip on reality, a hermit who had succumbed to the isolation of the canals. Whispers spread through Xochimilco that Don Julian had gone mad, driven insane by loneliness and the grim memory of what he'd found in the water. But Don Julian paid them no mind. He was listening to other voices. He swore the dolls spoke to him. In the rustling of the leaves, in the creak of the branches they hung from, he heard their whispers. They were, he claimed, vessels for spirits. Not just the girl, but others too. They would communicate their needs to him, telling him when they were angry, or when the girl was near. For Don Julian, the island was not a madhouse. It was a living, breathing entity, a chorus of silent mouths and watchful eyes, and he was its sole keeper. Then, in 2001, Don Julian was found dead, floating in the same canal, exactly where the girl had drowned 50 years earlier. Some say she came to take him with her. To this day, the island remains untouched, a forest of hanging dolls watching every visitor. Locals say if you stare into their eyes long enough, one will blink back.
She's still waiting for her next doll.